What's up, guys? Faruqi Bros here, back with another video. And today, for you guys, we're going to be talking about Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness, the sequel to the first Doctor Strange movie, and the latest addition to Phase 4. So, just to give you guys a quick disclaimer, we're going into full spoilers of this movie. So, if you have not seen it yet, definitely go watch it. If you don't care about spoilers, then definitely keep listening on. So, Doctor Strange 2, I did not get a chance to write a movie review of this one. During my prep, we missed our press screening due to the Eid holiday. So instead, I'll give my thoughts first about this movie and jump right in. So overall, I think Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness is absolutely fantastic. And Sam Raimi is a big reason why. I mean, one of the biggest complaints that I have with the MCU, with Marvel in general, is that a lot of the times it does feel very cookie cutter. A lot of the films bleed one into another, and it can all feel like kind of one big mush. And very rarely do you see a director driven project in this universe, because we all know it's producer driven. It's Kevin Feige who gets 90% of the credit when it comes to the best parts of the MCU. Very rarely does a director ever get credit in a Marvel movie. That's just kind of the game. That's just kind of how it is. So when they brought Sam Raimi to direct this movie, obviously I was very excited, but I was a little, like, hopefully they'll let him do his thing the way Sony did for the original two Spider-Man movies. Obviously, Spider-Man 3 had some heavy creative differences on that project. So this one, from what we've seen from reports, it does feel like it's about 70% Sam Raimi's film and then about 25% reshoots. But I was pleasantly surprised, especially tonally, especially from camera structure, camera work, how much of a Sam Raimi film this felt like. In fact, remember, Sam Raimi was a horror director before he was ever a Spider-Man director. So he actually leaned into his own roots when it came to this movie, and he did, I think, a great job with all the actors. He brought out some great performances, especially out of Elizabeth Olsen as Wanda, Scarlet Witch. So I thought she just stole every single scene she was in. So I think, personally, this is one of the best Marvel movies. And I'm excited to hear what your thoughts were, if any of you guys disagree with me or agree with me. Zion, I mean, where do you stand on Doctor Strange 2?
Yeah, I definitely agree that it's one of the top MCU films. Like you said, there really is a lot of give and take with in the MCU, with directors having to forego maybe some of their true vision to fit into the wider range of the MCU, or what Kevin Feige's producers want a film to be like, because it has to fit a certain mold that going in. Yeah, this is MCU branded film. This fits into what you expect from the MCU film. But on that note, I think Sam Raimi did a great job really putting his own flavor and his own style onto the film, like you mentioned, with the camera work. The color grading was obviously, I think, by far one of the best we see in the MCU, with much deeper colors and like richer tones. Not in terms of just the color grading, but also even the lighting in the scenes as well. I think he did a really great job on the cinematography front. If he was like consulting his cinematographer and working with him to really bring out a much better vision, that a much better visual experience than what you usually get in the MCU. We know a lot of people joke about the cement color grading and stuff like that, and we've seen comparison pictures between Infinity War and Doctor Strange, and it really is a big difference, and it really comes through in this movie. As far as story and all that, I think when they first said, "Oh, it's only gonna be a 2-hour runtime," I was a little worried about it, but I think he handled it so well that I didn't feel that there was any rushing or anything that felt like they were wasting time, because this was such a shorter runtime. If the flow was very good and didn't feel like any time was wasted or anything was there that was unnecessary, and it really just went by pretty well. Character wise, everybody is great, like you said. Elizabeth Olsen as Wanda was probably the highlight character, and I know a lot of people have been complaining about this online, where some of their problems with the movie is that it seems more like a Wanda movie than Doctor Strange movie, because it really is her story and you're seeing what she's going through, and the Doctor Strange is just there as the one good guy trying to like stop that, but really it's her story and her narrative. And I get why people who are like huge Doctor Strange fans be like, "Oh, why don't you do a more pure movie for Doctor Strange?" But I don't think it hindered the movie at all. I thought it was done amazingly well, and I know we'll get to this later, that Wanda's obviously one of the best villains now in the MCU. And just last thoughts of that, I was surprised, like you said, Sam Raimi comes from a horror film background, so I was surprised at how violent they actually went in this movie, because it's not typically what you see in the MCU, at least not so graphically, because some of the things Wanda did, obviously, with some of the characters, she gave them pretty violent deaths, and I thought that was surprising to see, but very welcome change from the usual MCU lighter-hearted tone that we usually get.
I think I would agree with all your points except for the one that it's well paced. I thought the first act was pretty poorly paced. I think it's one of the biggest kind of indictments for the movie, in my opinion, is the first act. You just kind of jumped right in, which sometimes works, but in this one it felt pretty jarring, and it felt like a little bit of more slowing down the beginning would have helped this movie. But I think once it got to the second act, it really found itself. So Samir, I'm going to go to you before I go to Umar on this one, because in the beginning of the year, when we were talking about how this year is going to have 3 multiverse movies, Doctor Strange, The Flash, and Spider-Man Spider-Verse, Across the Spider-Verse. Now 2 of those movies got delayed 23. So Doctor Strange is really your only multiverse movie. So for you, I mean, what did you think about the movie? And number 2, did it handle the multiverse correctly in your opinion? I think Samir got stuck in. Umar, if you remember what I said,
it's funny because we'll never know how long he's actually been stuck.
Yeah, I mean, he could have been just hitting that poker face the whole time. I thought he was doing like the excellent poker face the whole time. I was like, how is he so like well behaved? like
He's probably talking right now. We can't hear.
Oh, he's back.
I got stuck in another universe, yo.
I was like, Samir, which multiverse were you in right now? All right.
I don't know what happened.
Did you hear my question?
Really dream walking another multiverse.
Did you hear my question or no?
I heard the first part. That it's the only multiverse movie.
Yeah, and then I said, in your opinion, did it handle the multiverse correctly? But also, what are your thoughts on the movie in general?
I mean, first of all, there's also that other multiverse movie, but it isn't a superhero movie. So even if Flash did come out, it'd be like the 4th best multiverse movie, as Spider-Man came out. But I think they handled the multiverse very well in this movie. I'm glad that they didn't do too many cameos. Maybe some of them were cut out, but I'm glad it didn't take away from the main story. But the story kind of ended pretty poorly. I think plus that and the pacing issues. I think the ending was pretty anticlimactic when they had Wanda just talk to her children, and the kid actors were terrible. Like, if I'm being honest, I don't want to be mean, but they're pretty bad, and they had to use the WandaVision kid actors, but it kind of took away from the movie a little bit how bad they were. But overall, I thought it was good. I don't think that making Wanda such a big character took away from the Doctor Strange character development, because really it started with him talking to the girl. I forgot her name. Right.
America.
No, wait, he's talking about
his shorty girl.
Yeah,
Christine.
Rachel McAdams.
Christine, yeah.
Right. She asked him if he's happy, right? And then throughout the story, there's like 3 different versions of Doctor Strange, and they're all like evil. So it's like the whole story was about him not becoming one of those and not stealing America Chavez's powers at the end. So I think it was good. I think it was a good Doctor Strange story, and I think Elizabeth Olsen really stole the show.
I would agree with Samir on the fact that it was a little more. I did not feel necessarily that Wanda overtook the movie. I think it did feel like Doctor Strange movie because in the end, the central theme, it got a little ham-fisted at the end, but the central theme felt like it was about, oh, are you happy? And what does internal happiness mean? And that's being, Doctor Strange is constantly being asked that question, or is introspecting, asking himself that question throughout the movie. And in my opinion, I agree with you, Samir. I think for a Doctor Strange character arc, and yet I did not like the final shots of the movie. It felt really rushed. Like he just falls down, the third eye opens, and then the post-credit scene, he's just kind of already good with it. He like masters the third eye. I'm like, what's going on? It's like moving too fast. So I think, honestly, I would have ended the movie before that. I think anything to do with the third eye opening, I would have cut that out of the movie. I would have ended the movie at somewhat of a happy note, even if it's a little cliche. I would have, or even anticlimactic, to use your word. But I would have ended the movie at him just kind of feeling at peace with himself, Doctor Strange, and ending it there. But I guess they wanted to end at a cliffhanger to see what happens next.
And I just want to say before I go to Umar that I also agree with you guys on it being a Doctor Strange focused story. I was saying that those are some of the complaints I've just seen online where people are saying that a lot of the focus was just on Wanda. But I agree with you that it was at its core, obviously, Doctor Strange.
So Umar, I want to jump to you now. Thank you for being patient and waiting 10 minutes for the rest of us to make our points. But what did you think about the movie? How much of Sam Raimi's vision do you think that was in it? What are your kind of things you like, things you didn't like? Kind of, like free flow it.
Well, I mean, when we came out of it, I think I was more closer to what Samir has brought forth, which is I saw a lot of I saw the flaws, and I was just like, yeah, I don't know. It's good. It's a good movie. It was weird because you went into it thinking that, you went into it expecting. I went into it expecting a very MCU, in terms of the technicalities, like the visuals. I thought the visuals were going to be whatever. I went into it thinking it's going to be very similar to what we've seen, but then you get pleasantly surprised, and then there's also the horror element, and there's also Wanda murking people, and I was like, bro, what is this? So you kind of get surprised at some of the good things that are in it, and some of the uniqueness of the movie, and then it feels to me at least, it felt like a Frankenstein in the sense of you had that feeling, and then you also had the feeling of the uniqueness, and I was like, bro, what is happening? Because it is a Sam Raimi movie, and the technicality of it feels that way, but then there's points in the movie where it doesn't feel that way. So it's you get confused, and then as it aged, I feel like when I came out of it and I thought about it more, I started liking it more. I started seeing the positive side, a lot of things that Zion said. That's what I started seeing a lot more. I think Wanda's character, obviously, she did amazing. The actress did amazing in her own series, and I do think that she was the best performance in this one, by far. Doctor Strange, it is a Doctor Strange movie, and I guess they talk about how they mention how he's arrogant, and how all the other strange people or whatever wanted the powers. And so it feels very much oh yeah, it's a Doctor Strange movie about him being happy and whatever. But I feel like that's why they might have cut out maybe an extra 25-30 minutes of Wanda's story, is because had you left her stuff in it, especially if you made the connection between her and one of the X-Men characters. I'm not really knowledgeable on the X-Men characters, but she's the daughter of one of the characters, right?
Of Magneto, yeah.
Yeah, so if they were gonna put that in, or if that's something that was in it and then they cut it out or whatever, I feel like then it would have been way too much. It would have felt like a Wanda movie. And I think that stuff, if that is what they cut out, I feel like that's why they would have cut it out. As far as the other crazy things like Hugh Jackman or Deadpool or all that stuff, I do feel like if you had them in it, and instead of her killing some of these other characters, she ends up killing them, it would obviously be more insane. And I feel like you could get away with it, but it is what it is. So those are my thoughts. I'm going all around, but it was definitely, but yeah.
I want to kind of jump on a point that you made about the cameos and could they have done more? Did they do the perfect amount? I think that's the next kind of topic that I want to touch on, because obviously the rumors surrounding this movie, especially after No Way Home came out, people were losing their minds over what this movie can be. And they actually went into reshoots after No Way Home came out, which led many to believe that they're putting more multiverse instead of less. But in hindsight, I think they were removing multiverse elements rather than adding them in. And they were just kind of fine-tuning the movie to be this story about Strange and Wanda and not too much about other people. So then you get this scene with the Illuminati, which features a bunch of people from the multiverse, some from the What If series like Captain Carter, characters like Black Bolt from the Inhuman series, which a lot of people felt didn't even know if it's canon or not. I don't think it's canon actually to the MCU anymore, but this character Black Bolt did translate into the Illuminati. And then you have Captain Marvel, and then who else was there? Then of course you have Charles Xavier from the X-Men, and he's the biggest one. He's the biggest name. I think his death
and Richard Reed, Mr. Fantastic.
That was the biggest one.
Yeah,
that was the biggest one. And man, Mr. Fantastic as well. I think from all the death scenes, which one was the craziest for you guys? which is the most wild one. I think emotionally for me, the most wild one was Xavier getting his neck snapped, but the most brutal one was Black Bolt's mouth getting shut off and his brain exploding or whatever happened to him. But Samir, what was your favorite of the Illuminati deaths?
I'll tell you which one I liked the least. Okay, it was the Reed Richards death, because they didn't show any of him. I mean, at least with Black Bolt, they showed like the flashback scene where he's using his powers, but they didn't even show anything he did. They didn't show anything Reed Richards did. He just died right away.
That's a good point. I didn't notice that he did nothing for such a big actor. He did. That's like almost like they shot him for like 1 second. They're like, quick.
Yeah, I guess they're just saving him for the Fantastic Four movie, but he could have done more for this movie. Like, he's such a big name. But
yeah, because you knew this is one of the things that fans have been saying for years. Oh, John Krasinski as Richard Reed, or even just seeing Mr. Fantastic in the MCU. People were saying like when's Fantastic Four coming, and when the deal closed with Fox and whatever, it was like a guarantee that they're going to show up. So, like you said, it is surprising that the first appearance he was kind of like just there, doing nothing. I mean, he had the most lines, I guess, aside from Xavier, from like the new characters. But yeah, there's no backstory. There's no back element to make you have any investment in the character when he died.
What was your favorite scenes of the
favorite?
I think favorite death of the Illuminati. I'm talking about like
favorite death. See, favorite is weird because I think the one that shook me the most was Xavier because I don't think they're actually gonna kill him, and I think when he did die, it was pretty big because like you can't do that to Xavier. Xavier's like the guy, like you can't kill Xavier. Xavier,
is this the third time we've seen him die with the same actor?
No. He died like he was already basically like on his deathbed in Logan is different, but the way he died here was just disrespectful. Like you can't do him like that. You knew everybody else like that, but not Xavier. Like,
I'm trying to remember in X-Men 3, didn't Dark Phoenix kill Xavier? Or am I just like tripping on this? I'm pretty sure she did, but maybe not. I forgot those movies, but I feel like we've seen Patrick Stewart die as Xavier 3 times. I'm telling you, this is the third one. But Umar, what about you? What's the most shocking one? What's the one that you were like, oh, that's just sick? I think Wanda's brutality. I mean, Sam Raimi got away with a lot.
Bro, the way she literally she cut one of them in half with her own shield. Like Captain Carter cut her in half with her own shield. I was like, what the hell?
The shot,
like, that's the way stuff I was not expecting. I was not expecting that whole scene that happened. First of all, I wasn't even expecting her to like run through everyone, even though it was kind of like that's how it was. They were setting it up. But for me, in the movie, I was not seeing it. And so when it was happening, I was like, what the hell? And then she's like brutally killing each and every single one of them. And for her character, I think that's you had to do that. Like you have to give her that. Without that scene, like her performance would have been alright, but that like took her to a different level.
They want to make it very obvious that as Andrew, you mute yourself. They want to make it very obvious that she's very powerful. They used 2 scenes to do that. The first one was her attacking the magical temple with all the army of the wizards, and she obviously murked all of them. And then she beat Wong and she beat Doctor Strange, and then she fights the Illuminati and beats like 5 of like the strongest like Marvel characters, just takes care of them. But it's not too surprising because we saw her basically kind of one-on-one Thanos and beat him in Endgame before he kind of called in the rain, from his ship. But so she's always been very powerful. And even Civil War, the entire Civil War movie was just about, is Wanda too powerful to be contained? Like that was the central issue of her making the mistake in that wherever, and then them being like, oh, now we got to do Sokovia Accords.
Thanos looking expecting this movie, bro.
One thing I found interesting was in the beginning of the movie, the guy, the doctor friend, and he was like, oh, I lost my brother and etc. And I wonder if there was any other way that you could have saved the universe. And he was like, no, this is the only play. The only way was for us to let Thanos win, and then 5 years later, in the end, Tony can save the universe. But we see an alternate universe where there was another way, that if Strange got the Darkhold, he could have killed Thanos alongside those guys, Like they could have taken care of Thanos, and he was like stabbed in the movie, which was an incredible shot, by the way, in my opinion. But I found that interesting. Like they kind of contradicted themselves a little bit, and maybe there's more there because they'd mentioned Thanos a lot, but it's like talk about how does Doctor Strange internally feel that he made the call in the end? He's the one who gave the time stone to Thanos. Like it was his call, and even Tony was like, "Why did you do that?" In Infinity War. Still one of the best MCU movies. Endgame, I think, aged not as well, but Infinity War still very good. Either way, speaking of Endgame, Infinity War, and Wanda, do we think Wanda's potentially the best MCU villain? One of the best MCU villains? What do you guys think? Like, where would you put her in the MCU villain ranking of like best MCU villain? Because I think she has a case.
I think she's the best. I think she did the best acting. She's in. Now here's the thing: the only problem that comes with that Thanos, they set him up for like 10 movies, and then he's also in what you could say is probably the best event film, the best 2 event films that we've almost ever seen. Even if you don't think they are the best, like in terms of you think something else is better, right? On the DC side, you still have to admit that they are amazing. So he has a lot of things going for him, but just as a villain, his motivation was stupid, first of all, right? The whole thing about balancing the universe and half the resources aren't there, or whatever, stupid guy. Like, that was the dumbest thing I ever heard. So Wanda, now here's the thing. Samir's going to make the point that Wanda's motivations are also stupid, but I actually don't agree with him. It's a very, like, it makes sense. She's like, wants her kids or whatever. Like, whatever. Like, it makes a lot of sense. So, better motivation, better acting, better everything. So, I think she's a runaway when it comes to the.
I want that reveal before Samir goes. I think the reveal scene of them in the apple orchard field, and she's like, "Oh yeah, you know, America." He's like, "Wait a minute, I never told you her name." I feel like that was I've heard this cliche somewhere else, but it was very effectively used here, where it's like, "I never mentioned the name." Where was it?
Yeah,
oh, it was Harry Potter.
It was Harry Potter. It was Goblet of Fire.
Yeah, it was Goblet of Fire. Yeah, he was like, "Oh yeah, I don't remember ever mentioning the graveyard, Professor." You know, when Moody was exposed. But I was like, I recognized him somewhere. I was like, oh, from there. Okay, so and then when she revealed that really she's not living in a peaceful like whatever garden, she's living in like a hellscape. And she turned her own home into like this crazy place. And where we left off at WandaVision, she was just opening the book and going through it, but we didn't know she's gonna necessarily turn to this. There was a lot of rumors that she'll turn evil because of it, but she became like, and maybe this is part of what they cut out because I feel like it was just like this. She was just super villain from the second Doctor Strange visited her, you know? But I don't know if that's a good or bad thing. But Samir, would you rank her as potentially the best MCU villain?
Probably not the best. Maybe the coolest with her powers, but she only got corrupted or whatever. She only went on the rampage because of the book. Well, like her motivations were that she wanted her kids, but she only went killing everyone because of the book, right? And then she turned good at the end when she realized that they don't want her.
I don't think she turned good. I think she just said
good in quotes. Yeah.
She turned like.
I don't think she turned good.
What happened at the end? She
just said, you know what? No. She still killed everyone. I think she would have killed more, but she just felt like my kids in the end don't even want me, so I have no reason to live anymore. So let me just, deuces.
No, it was like
I don't think that was. It's like she realized that she was wrong about how she was going about it.
Yeah, she was like, I would.
She can't force herself into her other version of the kids' lives when they have their own mom, they have their own thing, and she saw what happens when she tried.
Dude, I feel like a better ending would have been if good Wanda killed evil Wanda. And just like when she held her face and said, "Oh, they'll be loved. Don't worry about it." She should have offed her right there because then it would have been like, "All right,
Nah,
I don't know about that.
That would have been too.
I don't know about that.
That sounds like a good concept, but I feel like the audience would have been like, "Wait, what?" Because how's she good Wanda if she's killing her?
Yeah, she can murder her in front of her kids.
It's weird.
That lady, Scarlet Witch, took over her body and forced her to kill the entire Avengers of the future. She should be angry.
But was it even the same universe?
No, that Wanda was the speech.
Yeah, that one was the same. Yeah.
Well, at the end, she was like, "I got to destroy the Darkhold now," and she destroys the whole like place, her whole temple or whatever she was in the mountain.
Yeah, but that doesn't absolve her.
She's not.
She's too much of her. She realized that she was tripping because of the book. Is what I'm saying.
First of all, we all know she's coming back. Like,
yeah, she didn't show any body.
She's coming back.
I'm just waiting for Samir to make the connection that he made in the theater.
What connection?
The DC connection that you made.
It's because you kept talking about Snyder.
I didn't talk about Snyder. This guy thinks that Wanda, her arc is like the same arc that Batman goes on.
Okay, she brutally kills everyone. Then at the end, she's like, "My fault." Okay, it's what Batman did.
No, but at least Batman, he kills the villains. She straight up killed heroes and whoever else, and she enslaved a whole town of regular civilians. Batman never hurt a regular civilian. He's still a hero.
Batman
only killed the villains.
Batman was only killing like human traffickers. He was killing Lex Luthor thugs. he was not killing.
They try to
regular
feed their
people.
family, and you're like,
Bro, Wanda was ripping people in half.
yeah. And then she asked Reed Richards if his wife was alive, bro, just to make sure. He got his,
That was
he had
so
that
messed
parent.
up.
That was so villainous.
That was so good though. That
I
line
think-
was so good.
I think things like that will make her one of the better villains in the MCU, but also just because she is an actual villain, like motivation wise. You look at Thanos, he what he was doing wasn't actually a selfish thing. And his reason was that, yeah, half the people will die, but it's at random. Like, I have no control over that, so I'm not a bad person. I'm just doing what I think is right to like save everybody for the greater good. And Killmonger, you see, like he's one of the best villains. He's just
What are you talking about?
fighting
As a
back
stone,
for what
whatever you
for
want.
what he got dealt, what he faced, right? He's like, oh, now I have to teach them for what they did to me. But Wanda, her motivation, even from WandaVision, the show, through this, is just very, very selfish motivation. Even though Doctor Strange, everyone's was saying that, oh, we don't feel sorry for you, but those kids weren't real, and they in the other universe have their own version of their mom. But she's like, she doesn't care. She'll kill her version or whatever, and she'll be their kid. They'll be her kids. And I think that very, very selfish reasoning is what makes her like actual villain, unlike Thanos, where in his own mind he was doing what he thought was for the greater good of the universe. So, just on a villain standpoint, she's high because of that.
I think she's the best villain.
I think the way it ended was not good for her villain arc.
I think it ended prematurely.
Maybe because of the way it was handled, like with the child actors. I don't know.
No. I think they pulled a bit of a Spider-Man 2. They pulled a bit of a Spider-Man 2 where it's like, oh no, I've seen my sins and now I must take care of everything and do it. It's like the way Doc Ock destroyed the sun is the way she destroyed the Darkhold. It's like, oh, I will just either drown myself or collapse myself, and I've because I've seen the error of my ways, everything is fine. So I feel like that we've seen this before in a Sam Raimi movie. So it's like a very repeat arc of Doc Ock that you see Wanda go through. Where it's like, oh, now I was wrong. Now I have to die. You know, like
it'll only work. Yeah, exactly. She'll be back, but it'll only work if she doesn't come back as suddenly a pure good guy just because the Darkhold isn't in her or whatever.
I think she's gonna come back.
That would be so bad. She has to come back like people like Doctor Strange or all these other heroes, or who know, they can't fully suddenly trust her again that, oh yeah, she's absolved of her sins and she's such a good guy and stuff like that. It can't work that easily. Like she has to re-earn everybody's trust or become a hero and pay the price for whatever, because she was too much of a villain to suddenly.
She can never be a hero again. She can never be. No, I don't think they're ever gonna take her that route ever.
I think
she didn't redeem herself. She just stopped the Darkhold. That doesn't do anything.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying so they can't show when she comes back that she's suddenly redeemed.
They won't though. There's no way they're gonna do that.
I think what they should do is, since they made family such a big thing about her character, I think all they have to do now is just reveal that Magneto's their dad, and then she joins Magneto, becomes a villain. You know?
Maybe she'll believe in mutant like liberation. She'll turn to that. Like she'll be an anti-hero, and that's a very good idea. That's the way to take it.
That would be smart.
Yeah, like she'll be just one of Magneto's like most powerful villains. But I think she's still too powerful even without the Darkhold. But like, how can anyone contain her? But it's fine. It's like we're lucky she fought Doctor Strange, because like if she fought like, I don't know, like Falcon and Winter Soldier, like it wouldn't end well. It'd be bad news, if the new Captain America showed up or something. Like they need some heavy firepower, like
right now. Also, a funny thing was that the way she killed Captain Carter was like the way the shot was, where like the shield was about to go through, and then suddenly showed her face, was just like Green Goblin, the way Green Goblin killed the Spider-Man 1.
I feel like there had to have been a.
They did it on purpose, 100%.
Yeah, that was a straight glider reference to like, oh, the glider stabs our man's, Green Goblin. Either way, time for the final thing, which is giving our scores out of 5 for the movie. I will give the movie a 4 out of 5. I remove 1 point because I don't think it was completely Sam Raimi's vision, and I think the first act and the final 5 minutes are both not great. But the rest of its second act is fire. But and I love the horror elements of this thing. Like when Wanda's face like looked in the picture, I was like, yo, this is it. I was like, Sam Raimi's trying. So but that's my score, 4 out of 5. What about you, Zion?
I would give it a 4.5 out of 5. I think, yeah, like some of the beginning, some of the end had pacing issues, but I don't think it was such a big issue because overall, you look at 2 hours, I think he handled it as well as he could have for a 2-hour movie, for a 2-hour mandate or whatever. And Any of the issues weren't big enough to be 1 full point down. In the ranking of the MCU, this is a 4.5 movie, which is like an A-.
Umar, you have 4.5 from Zion. You have 4 from me. Where would you go on this?
I'll probably go a 4. 4, just because I don't know. To be honest, I might break my own rule and just watch this movie again, because I still feel very like I don't. First of all, I don't remember like a lot of it. A lot of it I don't like. You guys talking about pacing issues? I don't remember feeling that way.
Just in the first act. I think my thing was pacing issue only in the first act. The last 5 minutes wasn't pacing. It just, in my opinion, bad story decisions. So there's 2 different things. But,
wait, what was the bad story decision?
The whole eye thing is just bad. Like that's not how it ended the movie.
That was in 5 minutes. That was one scene. That's 10 seconds.
No, but plus 2 bad post credit scenes.
Yeah, the eye thing should have been the first post credit scene. And then the last one should have been the same, the Bruce Campbell funny one.
And they just had to put Bruce Campbell in the movie because they have to. But
Homer didn't know who he was, even though he claimed
he does, bro. He's in every single Spider-Man movie. It's just Sam Raimi's like equivalent of like Stan Lee. He has to put him in every movie.
I don't know. It's between 4 and 4.5. I mean, when I came out of it was like a 3.5. So
Zion's point is good at the 4 point in terms of MCU, because MCU is kind of mid overall. The mid CU. But
yeah, you know what? I'll go 4.5 because of that.
But I think like there's only maybe 2 5-star movies in the MCU, and that's No Way Home and Infinity War, and everything else is under 5 stars in my opinion. So
first of all, No Way Home is 5 stars not because of the movie. It's 5 stars because of Andrew freaking Garfield and Tobey Maguire in the movie.
Yeah,
the movie itself is actually not better than Doctor Strange.
It's not cinema. I agree. No, I agree. It's not cinema, but it just does the job, and it makes me feel happy. And when all the Spider-Man are swinging it, I'm happy about it.
Doctor Strange also isn't cinema, but it's still a better.
But it's more cinema. Yeah, it's a higher level of cinema.
Yeah, like it's a better made movie. Like it's a better. Doctor Strange 2 is better than No Way Home. It's just the one has Tobey Maguire, which cancels out everything else.
That's I agree with that point completely.
You gotta make it better.
Right. I'm still sticking to 4 out of 5. I've actually re-ranked my entire MCU in terms of actual numbers to reflect that. So now there's no more 4.5s that are like out of place.
Let me guess, your first 3 are like all the Spider-Man movies.
No, well, that's a whole different debate. But if you go pure like under Kevin Feige's post Iron Man banner, my top 3 is No Way Home, Infinity War, and maybe Doctor Strange. And if not Doctor Strange, then it's a mix between Infinity War and Endgame. Not Infinity, Endgame and Winter Soldier. But Samir, what's your score?
Initially, I gave it a 3.5, but I'd switch it to a 4. Total 4.
So you and me said 4. Umar Rich said 4. You moved to 4.5. So we have two 4.5s from Zion and Umar, and 2 4 out of 5s from me and Samir, which means the average for Rookie Bro score is 4.25. What do you guys think about Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness? Do you think it's one of the best MCU films of all time? Let us know in the comments below and join the debate. From myself, from Zayan, from Umar, and from Samir, we're the Faruqi brothers, and we'll see you next time.